Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, February 18. On this date in 1985, MTV aired The War to Settle the Score live from Madison Square Garden. In the main event, Hulk Hogan defeated Rowdy Roddy Piper by disqualification to retain the World Wrestling Federation Championship. On this date in 1996, WWE held its In Your House pay-per-view. In the main event, Bret the Hitman Hart defeated Diesel in a steel cage match to retain the World Wrestling Federation Championship. On this date in 2001, WCW held its Super Brawl Revenge pay-per-view. In the main event, Scott Steiner defeated Kevin Nash in a Falls Count Anywhere 2 out of 3 Falls retirement match to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 2007, WWE held its No Way Out pay-per-view. In the main event, John Cena and Shawn Michaels defeated The Undertaker and Batista in a tag team match. This has been Today in Wrestling History, February 18.
Hi, this is Jim Cornette, and you're listening to Pro Wrestling Weekly with Ferran Derry on 1490 WBCB.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly. Thank you, Jim Cornette, and looks like you've, in a sense, kind of been quoted here on the Facebook fan page. Dan, of course, from Chicago, posting the SummerSlam 97 ending, the video for it, and our good buddy Doug from George's Cards and Collectibles, he kind of chimes in with, I think, what was a while back dubbed as the Jim Cornette rule, basically stating that after 7 years, if a storyline hasn't been used, you're free to use it again. Well, here's Doug's actual comment. Everyone knows in wrestling after 7 years it's not considered being a copycat, it's an original idea. Because, of course, different generations of fans come in, and so I guess in this case it's more than 7 years. It's, come on, math, 15 years, so it's more than twice the length. So I guess I guess it's acceptable in that regard. Whether it was used properly, that's a whole nother story. We'll get back to the Facebook feedback in just a moment, but let's go ahead and get over to the phones with Sean. Sean, welcome to Pro Wrestling Weekly.
Hey, Ferran, long time no talk.
Yeah, what's going on?
Just kind of hanging out, nice weather, cooking some burgers. Heard your topic, though. Didn't Ric Flair have his son come out there for a little bit?
Well, he actually has 2 sons. Right now, his younger son, Reed Flair, is in developmental, but he's kind of developed his dad's nature personality, and he's gotten himself into some legal trouble here and there. So he obviously hasn't gotten a call up, but I think you're referring to David Flair.
Exactly. He was so overmatched, it wasn't even funny.
Yeah, I mean, he was one who I had on my list. I figured he was going to come up at some point. In the waning days of WCW in 99, 2000, 2001, they put David Flair in a lot of situations that he probably had no business in, but only because of the last name Flair.
He's so over. I think he came out in like jeans and a white T-shirt, and it's just ridiculous. It was totally ridiculous. No, the other thing is, just want to inform everybody, I'm sure there's new videos coming out from Completely Damaged. The last time I really had my thumb on the pulse of wrestling was the CM Punk shoot interview. It's been a while. Did anything good ever come of that? I mean, they had such power behind it, and then it just went nowhere, right?
Well, a lot of the momentum was taken away, and I'm sure blame is kind of being thrown in a number of different directions, but it looked like the direction was going of a feud between CM Punk and Triple H, and it never really materialized, but it took a lot of the steam away from it. And then there was also a brief distraction where there was the possibility of CM Punk against Kevin Nash, because they brought Nash back for a little bit, and to mostly disastrous results. Nash ended up feuding with Triple H in which culminated in a forgettable matchup at TLC in December.
Yeah, it's a shame. That was the biggest thing. I mean, that made news, and it was the biggest push they've had in a while, and it just came to fruition to nothing.
Yeah, I mean, now it looks like they're kind of heading in the direction of Punk against Jericho, which is great for wrestling fans, but they had a grasp on something mainstream, and I don't know, it just kind of slipped through their hands, I think.
Absolutely. It's, once again, he's a billionaire, or a millionaire who should be a billionaire. It's the way it is. But Chip WA's coming up Route 1 just inside Jersey at the end of March. I'll let you know more about that when it comes closer.
Okie dokie. A little bit more of a local scene. I had to make my way over to CompletelyDamaged.com. I know I've been hounded by RC for a little bit. It's been difficult working between this here at the radio station and my other gig. I'm probably going about 70 hours a week, so it's been hard to sit down and kind of just let my thoughts flow on paper, but I need to get that going eventually.
Absolutely. Well, you're young. Do it while you can.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, have a good one.
Not as young as I feel, that's for sure.
I hear you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate the call. Oh, man. David Flair was definitely one that was thrown out there. A couple others that kind of jumped to my mind. Brian Lawler, who you might also remember as Brian Christopher, Grandmaster Sexay from Too Cool in the WWE. Obviously, they kind of tried to separate him a little bit, but by not using a name, but at the same time, it was kind of one of those tongue-in-cheek things, kind of like how, back during the Vince McMahon's Stooges of days of Briscoe and Patterson, how Ross would not so subtly throw out those allegations and little verbal jabs at Patterson, things like he's single fellas and that Patterson does rear end work at Briscoe Brothers Auto Body Shop. Just little playful jabs of that nature. But yeah, Brian Lawler, I don't know. A little bit of hype. I mean, I don't know if he necessarily garnered some success, but not a whole lot. As far as overhyped, I'd have to think Jeff Jarrett. I know that name might kind of shock you a little bit. Obviously, he's been heavily involved with TNA for a really long time, but you got to figure he's going back to. Look back to when he first came to the WWE. Well, then the World Wrestling Federation at the time. He had the whole singing cowboy gimmick. Using the World Wrestling Federation to become a star in Nashville and in the country music scene, which I'm sure Bill Melody's even cringing at the prospective thought of it. But and of course the whole JEFF, JARRETT, and next thing you know, he's got a guitar that he's using as a weapon. He's gone in a strange direction to say the least. Let's go ahead and get back to the phones. The lines are all of a sudden ringing up, probably from a couple of things going on here. Let's kick things off. We've got the one, the only Rat Boy.
All right, there's two names that you didn't bring up yet.
Go for it.
Luna Vachon.
Luna Vachon, of course. The whole Vachon family is rather notable, especially in the Canada area. Of course, Maurice Mad Dog Vachon, the Hall of Famer. Sorry, go ahead.
And we got Elizabeth, Mean Gene Okerlund's daughter.
Wait, Elizabeth is Mean Gene Okerlund's daughter?
Yes, it is.
I don't remember that one.
Yes.
Does Mean Gene know that?
Huh?
Does Mean Gene know that?
Yes, that's his real daughter. You didn't know that?
You're putting me on.
No, you better look. You better look at the her biography. It's Mean Gene's daughter.
I'll have to look back at that. I don't know. You've thrown some pretty wild things out there.
And plus, you got the Von Erichs.
Well, the Von Erichs are. I'm trying to look it up as we go along here. I don't see anything about that. I think you might be blowing a little bit of smoke there, Rat Boy, on that one. But
there was another one. He was a referee, Joey Morella.
Well, there wasn't really a lot of hype behind Joey Morella, and I think a lot of it also, he probably would have been involved in more storylines if not for that tragic auto accident that took away his life, in his early 30s, if I remember right, back in the early to mid 90s, like 94, I think it was that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But
and
yeah,
the Wild Samoans, and Rikishi.
Yeah, well, that whole Samoa family tree, it's kind of hard to put a whole lot of hype behind one of them, but they've had varying measures of success.
Yeah, and plus you got the Time the Kid from the Wild Samoans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let me go because I'm busy here.
Oh, sorry to disturb you. My goodness. Oh, wow. You got to laugh out a Wild Bill melody from that one, too. Wow. Rat Boy busy. I guess he's working on trying to find replacements for a certain... No, never mind. Here's another one. I know Jeff Jarrett, that kind of thrown out there. Somebody who certainly got a lot of hype when he was in the World Wrestling Federation, even though it wasn't for a really long time. Tiger Ali Singh, of course, the son of Tiger Jeet Singh, the notable wrestler. They tried giving him the $1 Million Man's gimmick, of giving $500 to any American to do various, humiliating or degrading things, and it never really took off. So I don't know. That just kind of stuck around. Another one who got a lot of hype, especially over in WCW, Shawn Stasiak, of course, son of Stan the Man Stasiak. Another overhyped, multi-generation wrestler, and some would argue that there are a lot of them currently in there, but I don't know. I think the jury's out on a lot of them. I mean, you could make a case for Cody Rhodes, you could make a case for Alberto Del Rio, but I think the jury's still out on those. It's kind of too early to say. All right, their careers necessarily, their career's just starting, and it's kind of hard to close the book on it too early. Although, John, you provide the chuckles. As far as overhyping anything, Hulk Hogan trying to put over his kids in a lot of different forms of entertainment. I will admit there is some truth to that, and I think for a little bit more on that, I think we might have him on the line here. Unless this is a different John, let's find out. John, you're on Pro Wrestling Weekly.
Hey, Ron, how's it going?
Not too bad. How's that for a segue?
It's like, I mean, a lot of the ones that I was thinking of naming were already, like, the top of the list already, like Randy Orton. Then you got, the list just goes on. But like I said, pretty much Hulk Hogan trying to put over his whole family. And it just failed. I mean, with the exception of one incident, the constant pushing of his daughter, and then they get his family involved in TNA wrestling, and before his little brief return with Hulkamania in the WWE. Mm-hmm. And his botched promo with Vince McMahon.
Oh, jeez.
But it's like you look back at some of these, the siblings or the children or the great grandchildren or what have you in wrestling. It's like bad draft picks. Mm-hmm. I mean, these guys come and go. They ride the name out, and that's it. But the one that I'm surprised, like I actually thought of Cody Rhodes, but actually kind of taking a little bit of a liking to him.
Yeah, as have I. So that's why I'm really hesitant. But personal. Well, I guess I should, as a broadcast journalist, look objectively. But you also have to realize, I mean, he's only what, 26 years old. So I mean, there's still plenty of time for him.
Maybe right, but on the other side of the coin, maybe Ted DiBiase Jr.
Yeah, I mean, of those two, I mean, they both came in around the same time, and Rhodes has definitely had more success thus far. I mean, there's still time for both of them, but I mean, I think Ted Jr. is a little bit older. I forget exactly how old, but actually, yeah, he's closing in on 30, I think.
Oof. The Funkasaurus.
The Funkasaurus. Yeah, we haven't seen a whole lot of him as of late.
Well, when he has been out, like, believe me, I haven't been chiming in. When he comes on, it's kind of like, okay, there's got to be something else on.
Yeah, well, I think they're working on the next development of his act. We've seen the whole dance routine and then the 1-minute squash, and that's it, which you'd think Vince would have learned from Flash Funk 15 years ago.
Oof. Or maybe seeing how Two Cold Scorpio didn't really turn out with that kind of a gimmick when he came over, how brief it was.
Yeah, no, I just remember those boots that went all the way up to the knee.
And then you got, it just slipped my mind, but it's just amazing. It's kind of like when you look at Michael Jordan and all his accolades, you look at Ric Flair and all his accolades, and then you look at their son. Well, I know Jordan's got, I know they got several kids, but the ones that are usually predominantly on the camera, mm-hmm. and you just see that sometimes they're just
riding the name.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
Finish college.
Actually, two more I'll throw out at you just to get your thoughts on David Sammartino.
Yes.
Yeah, going
absolutely.
back a little old school a little bit, but I mean that was. I mean, they got really behind him in like 85, 86. You know, they brought Bruno pretty much out of retirement to wrestle a few matches, you know, some father-son things, but it just, you know, didn't have the following of and
right.
He just didn't have it like his dad did. I mean, granted, how Bruno Sammartino would have done in, you know, the television age, that's a whole nother story.
I mean, in his defense, though, I mean, he was before Hulkamania. He was one of the first real, like, big, larger-than-life wrestlers. So it's really kind of, and this goes with pretty much any of them, depending on the level of success. I mean, we all know Ric Flair's success. We all know Hulk Hogan's success. Dusty Rhodes, I mean, he's more of an American wrestling icon. But he's known more for more of the silliness.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think Vince did a little bit to that. I mean, I know most people, I mean, when you think Dusty Rhodes, unfortunately, you think those yellow and black polka dots first.
And purple. Only Randy Savage could do that.
Oh, yeah.
But to be following up Bruno Sammartino, that's like any guy that wrestles him in a main event. They have to somehow go out there at the next show in a main event and try to follow that up.
Try to best that, yeah.
That's it.
I know, it's kind of like game over. And then put a little bit more of a slightly localized flair on it. I don't know why I'm going with all these old school names, but Greg Gagne from the AWA.
And you know what's interesting? It's cool, like, because you watch AWA when it was on ESPN Classic. I don't know if it's still on ESPN Classic, but it's
sporadic now. They still have it on a little bit, though.
And that'll be one of those things. I think it'll be cool. Like, this is just me. Like, because we're going old school and we're going big. Well, I don't want to say the V word because I think of a certain announcer, and it just makes my blood boil. But you know, which is great because now WWE is acknowledging they know he sucks at commentary. But you look at the incoming, well, it was soon to be incoming, the WWE Network. Don't you think it'd be kind of cool, like USA has Live, Raw, and then the WWE Network maybe have replays of Nitro at the same time to compete with each other? Not to compete, but it's like just to see how much of an interest they have. Maybe gauge, okay, this guy is not necessarily going over well. They're watching WCW. Maybe we should do something there, like maybe like as like kind of like a Nielsen ratings research test. See what works and what doesn't.
So basically, they're putting a wrestling product from the past against a live wrestling product to see which does better. And what ends up happening if across the board the replay of Nitro from 15 years ago beats out today's Raw?
It proves that
It proves what we've been saying for the last 2-3 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of TNA going to Monday nights for, I don't know, for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, like 9 weeks or whatever that was.
Oof, it's horrendous. Now you look at these guys; they're doing Rent-A-Center commercials. It always goes back to that. I don't know why.
Yeah, the Troy Aikman, Hulk Hogan Rent-A-Center commercial.
Oh.
Which it's
I don't know. Rent-A-mania.
Rent-A-mania running wild. Thanks so much for the call, John. I'm up against it. Quick story about that, actually. I was at I was seeing my buddy Richie at the Wings lacrosse game last week, and we actually got to go down on the field, and there was a kid wearing a WWE T-shirt. He had to have been like 4 years old, maybe. Had no clue who the wrestlers were on there, but I ended up showing a picture that I had with Hulk Hogan back when he was here for Bound for Glory. And he's like, oh, it's the guy from the Rent-A-Center commercials. And I put my head in my hands. I didn't know what the heck to do. On that note, that's going to do it. Bill Melody's up next with the Country Music Hall. I'll be back to go over everything with Elimination Chamber and a whole bunch more. You never know where this show's going to go. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB.
1490 WBCB, Levittown, Fairless Hills, Trenton.